Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome. I'll call to order our regular meeting of the University of Louisville's President's Council. Because of significant changes to the university administration over the past month, it's prudent, I think, for us to postpone our usual committee reports until April. And we're going to listen to Interim President Gonzalez and members of her leadership team give us an update on what's going on at the university and how we're proceeding at this point. Before I do that, a couple of points of order. There is a chat hand up there that you can hit, and when you have a question, and Jake can let you in and open up your microphone to ask your question along the way. If you prefer to hit the little cloud button and type your question, we can look at it that way. So Jake will be the man behind the curtain handling all of that for us today. Our first order of business is I'm really pleased to introduce 3 new members of the council. Jennifer Hoffman Fowler, David Padgett, and William Summers are all joining the council. I know that Jennifer couldn't join us today, but David and William are here. So Jennifer Hoffman is a former member of the UofL volleyball team. She received a Bachelor of Science in Business, focusing in marketing and management at UofL. She was an assistant volleyball coach for several years before taking over the marketing director for the Boys and Girls Club of Kentuckiana. Currently, Jennifer is a sports analyst and reporter for ESPN, the SEC Network, and the ACC Network. Jennifer, we're sorry you're not here to be with us today, but we're absolutely thrilled that you've accepted a position on the President's Council. Next, David Padgett, also a former student athlete. He had a highly successful UofL career as a basketball coach, as a basketball player, as an assistant coach, and of course our acting head coach in 2017. David received a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science from UofL and is currently working with Morgan Stanley. David, welcome back to UofL, and do you want to say a few words? Jake's going to unmute you. Hang on. Not yet.
Go ahead, David. You just have to unmute yourself and then you're good to go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Good.
All right. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting so tired of these Zoom and team calls and unmuting yourself. Why can't we just do this in person? No, but Charlie, thank you so much. Very honored, obviously, to be invited and asked to be part of this council. As most of you probably know, the university means a great deal to me. Always has and always will, no doubt about that. And good to see a lot of familiar faces and hopefully get a chance to meet a lot of new faces in person at some point. But just really looking forward to being a part of this council and doing anything and everything I can to give input or whatever the case may be to help the best university in the state of Kentucky move forward. So very excited to be here.
Thanks, David. We're very, very pleased to have you on board. I think you're going to be able to offer a unique perspective, especially at this time for the council and for the university. We're going to need your help. So thank you for being here. Next, William Summers is the Chief Community Development Officer at Republic Bank and Trust Company. He previously worked at Old National Bank, BB&T, and Central Bank, where he served as vice president. He holds an MBA from Bellarmine University, and his business acumen, as well as his longtime Louisville ties, are going to make him a great addition for the council. Please welcome William with me. And William, if you're available, would you like to say a few words? I know I saw you earlier.
Yes. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, we're just happy to be here. At the end of the day, you know, a strong University of Louisville is very much important to our Commonwealth and even more important to our city. So I'm just glad to be here and looking forward to being able to work with each and every one of you and help in any way that I can.
Thanks, William. To both of you and Jennifer, welcome to the President's Council. We're looking forward to working with you as we move forward. We've got good momentum at the university, and with your help, we're just going to keep moving it forward. So glad to have you all on board. All right, our next item of business is the report of the interim president. Lori, are you out there? The floor is yours if you're there.
I'm here. Thank you, Charlie.
Hey.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yes. Ada.
So I want to thank Charlie, and we have a lot of good updates to give you today. Good information and some good news from the university. I'd like to just briefly introduce myself. I'm a native Kentuckian. I was born in Rockcastle County, and I came to U of L in the spring of 2021. I came because of the mission of the institution. Its belief in giving opportunity to all students to succeed, and also came with the notion of, as U of L goes, so goes Louisville, and so goes Kentucky. And so as we're successful at U of L, our city thrives and our state will thrive as well. So that's kind of been my mission since I've been here. When she introduced me to you, I was functioning as the chief academic officer, the provost. And so that's the person who is in charge of the academic mission of undergraduate, graduate, professional education. So I'm just past my month anniversary when the board named me as the interim president. I was very humbled to step into the position, and want you to know that I will work every day to make sure that we continue the tremendous momentum that we built. Neely built a great leadership team, and my colleagues are just wonderful, and you're going to hear from several of them today. I had an outpouring of support when I took over, and I want to thank you for your service to the university. So I wanted to just go over some recent decisions and appointments that had been made since I stepped into the role. And those of you who watched the news conference after the board meeting will know that I appointed AD Josh Hurd as our interim AD, and he's doing a really great job. He's keeping me abreast of things in athletics, so we make a good partnership. I also appointed as interim provost, Dr. Jerry Bradley. Dr. Bradley comes to us from the School of Dentistry, where he has been a master in navigating COVID with the clinical requirements of the education for students. And he's also co-chaired our budget committee for the whole campus. He, along with Rick Graseric, in finance. I didn't know, Jerry, if you just wanted to say a word or two and say hello to the council.
Great. Hi, everyone. Jerry Bradley. So it's certainly an honor and a privilege to be asked to serve as the provost on an interim basis. So I really am thrilled to take on this challenge. I know that the university, we are all dealing with many challenges, but I'm so proud of what we've accomplished here in the university in a short period of time. So looking forward to continuing the trajectory forward, and look forward to getting to meet more of you as time goes by. So again, thank you for the honor, Dr. Gonzalez, to be on your leadership team.
Thank you, Jerry, and I appreciate you stepping up. I appreciate that very much. We also appointed a position that will be for the interim status, and that is for a senior vice provost. So the interim senior vice provost is Dr. Dale Dupuy. Gail comes to us from the School of Engineering, but most recently she agreed to run our Center for Engaged Learning. That's a new center that we opened in the fall. And she also worked, has led our strategic planning efforts. So right now she's going to be working with our vice provosts, and that will include the Center for Engaged Learning, enrollment management, advising, and other academic support functions. So Gail, if you're on the call, do you want to say hello to the group?
Sure. Yeah, I'm here. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here. Very excited to work with Lori and Jerry and continue our good work here at the university. I've been a university employee since 1995. Really enjoyed my time here and enjoy working with the students and helping our students be more successful. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Gail. I appreciate it. So at the last council meeting, Neely discussed the position that we have for the Vice President for Diversity and Equity. That search is ongoing. I should be able to have a decision made very soon. When the candidates were on campus, I met with each of them, but I met with them in different venues. In one, I went to dinner, and one I dropped into a meeting, another I had on a Teams meeting. And so I wanted to re-interview all the finalists with the lens from the president's seat. So all those interviews happened last week, and now we're just in the stage of checking references and things like that. So we should be able to make a decision very soon. As you know, given the mission and the values of University of Louisville, this is just a critical leadership leadership role for our campus and for the overall community. I hope by the time we have our next meeting, I'll be able to introduce you to our new Vice President for Diversity and Equity. Just a few campus updates for you is you may know, and I hope you do, that we are back on campus and in person. So we're offering in-person classes right now. Most students and faculty and staff are happy to be back. Some are not, and I'm sure you've seen those headlines. I just want you to know that we're going to stay the course with in-person learning. Our undergraduate students perform better when they're in person and on campus. We had declines in grade point average, declines in retention, and an uptick in our need for mental health services where our students were in a remote learning modality. So we're back in session. Yesterday, I was with 200 students who were doing a day of service in honor of Martin Luther King Jr., and they were really excited to be going out into the community and doing work. So, you know, one of the things that a campus is always measured by is their student retention. Do we have student retention for students that take courses in the fall? Do they come back in the spring? We took a dip in those percentages during the pandemic. And I just wanted the council to know that we are back to pre-pandemic levels in our retention. So currently we are at 91%. 91% of our students that were in the fall have come back in the spring. Last year, that dropped to 86%. So if we get students back in class and they know we're going to be in person, that'll make a big difference for students choosing to come to the University of Louisville. We have had a mask policy in place since the beginning of the pandemic, and that's still in place for indoor activities. We've issued masks to faculty, staff, and students, a KN95, and then we're continuing our vaccination and booster clinics as well as testing with our campus health services. I just am always proud to tell you that we have, we're just shy of 92% in our vaccinated individuals on campus. That's faculty, staff, and students. So, you know, I like to say we're one of the safest places for people to be in the city of Louisville. So that works out really well for us. Those of you who like to be on a college campus, it's great to see students walking, talking in the cafeteria, being engaged with their faculty. It's the reason we're here, and it's really great to see. If you are a television watcher, you should be on the lookout next week because we're launching our advertising campaign that's titled Here and Beyond. And so you're going to see some TV commercials across town. We're going to see some billboards. It's going to be on TV. And it's very exciting. You know, one of the words we're using besides here and beyond is vitality. We're trying to signal how vital this campus is for the students and how much it is for the community. So be on the lookout for that. It's very exciting for us. And it's the first time we've done such a big campaign and the first time since we've rebranded in maybe 12 years. So that's quite wonderful. So Kevin Gardner is our Executive Vice President for Research and Innovation, and he's going to tell you about all the extraordinary things happening in research. And then I've asked Dan Durbin, who is our Executive Vice President for Finance and Administration. He's our CFO. He will share with you how much better we are doing financially all the way. This is great news for everyone. So I'm looking forward to you hearing that. But I want to just give you a quick update on a couple of the other units in the president's office because they've had really wonderful successes as well. So with our fundraising in the second quarter of the fiscal year, we're on a path to meet our projected goals in philanthropy. And we are able then to fund our highest priorities across the campus in academics and research. We had some really exciting gifts. I want to just give you a few examples of organizations that chose to make their donation to our campus. The School of Dentistry received over $1 million from Delta Dental for patient care and clinical funds. Our School of Nursing secured a $950,000 gift from Kindred Foundation, with $900,000 of that going for a student lounge and $50,000 going to the Traeger Institute to create a culinary kitchen. The Gibbs Foundation has continued its support of the Gibbs Lung Research Program, and over the past 5 years, they've given almost $1.5 million to that effort. Our annual giving numbers show continued momentum across all areas So our giving percentages are up within faculty and staff compared to last year. And then our Raise Some L's, I hope you were able to see it and able to donate. We had the highest number of unique donors and representation from all 50 states. And one last example, our Alumni Association board had 100% giving for a special project that we want to inspire and connect with our young alumni. The reason this is important is when Jasmine goes out to talk to donors and she could talk about a board at 100% giving, it shows that people are investing their time and their money in our institution. So it makes it seem they want to get on the bandwagon and be part of that, part of those givers to our institution. So you all as the President's Council are really our good news ambassadors. You've stepped up with lots of initiatives with different dollar amounts, particularly our Student Emergency Fund during Raise Some L's. That fund makes a huge difference. We could lose a student at U of L because the student doesn't have $100 and just thinks that's the break point for them. And this emergency fund has been able to really make a difference to keep our students in class. Right now, 43% of you have given this year. It's been 47% for the calendar year and 43% for the fiscal year. And I am just going to ask you to reach deep and try to make that 100% by the end of the fiscal year, which ends June 30. So think about making a gift to something that supports one of your own values. I know Jasmine would be happy to talk to you about anything that you want to talk to about in the world of advancement. As you see, their office has done just exceedingly well this year. Our foundation, those of you who've been around a while know we had a rocky time with our foundation, and I just want you to know that things are really so much improved. Our endowment pool ended the first half of the fiscal year up 5.5%, and it was at an all-time high value of $890 million. Those numbers are really important as we look to sources to fund our university. We're 10% funded by the state. And as you might imagine, with an organization this big, that's not going to grow a lot, and it won't be sufficient for us to do new initiatives to give good compensation to our employees. So that endowment number is very important for us. All our accounts are above water and healthy. That was a big reason for celebration for us. It had been a little tricky time for a while, but they're all above water. We expect that the foundation board is likely to approve a higher spend percentages for our units based on the success of our endowments. So the academic units and other support units should be able to see an increase in the funds coming from the foundation. So on the U of L front, U of L Health front, I just want you to know Tom Miller and his team are working to make sure that no person is turned away for healthcare, even as we see this surge in Omicron. The positivity rate now is above 25%, and they're seeing double the number of patients in the hospital compared to last year. And you read about this in the news, so this is not news. But the good news about those hospitalizations is they're not as sick and they're not using up the ICU beds. That's one of the metrics that we all look at very carefully. So we anticipate maybe another 2 weeks of surge before we see a decline. And they've moved into trying to find ways to creatively offer nursing care. That's one of their biggest areas of need is nursing. So if you have a young person that wants a great career, encourage them to look at nursing very carefully. I was at the groundbreaking for the Bullitt County Hospital. That was on my third day as interim president. So I got to celebrate something, and the pride of the people from Bullitt County knowing that they were that much closer to good quality health care was very exciting. They're going to break ground for that space in April, and it will first be in an inpatient facility. It'll be the first one that will have start with 40 beds. There are plans for expansion, but they want to get those beds up and running. We've expanded the Brown Cancer Center in Jefferson County to Medical Center Northeast and at Mary Elizabeth Hospital, and U of L's opened its 5th urgent care facility throughout the region. And this is improving rapid COVID testing throughout the area. And this is a message from Tom: wear your masks, get vaccinated, get boosted if possible. And so at this time, I'll take any questions you might have before we move into the reports from Kevin and Dan. So please let me know what questions you might have. You can raise your hand or put it in the chat. Going once. Going twice. All right. You're letting me off easy, and I appreciate that. In my first President's Council meeting, you can save them up for the next time. All right. At this time, I want to introduce Dr. Kevin Gardner. He's going to give you an update on our research efforts. Kevin?
Thank you, Lori, and good afternoon, President's Council. I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully this goes well. As somebody mentioned, I'm so tired of Teams meetings, but here we are. We're on a Teams meeting. So we have, picking up on the theme from Lori, there's a lot of great momentum in the areas of research and innovation, which is super important to U of L. And I'm just going to hit some of the highlights here from the recent past. So we have broken a lot of records. So we have over $200 million in new awards in the last fiscal year. The last record was 170 million in FY20, and the record before that was 150 million in FY19. So we've increased 50 million over the last couple of years. We were just reinstated as a Carnegie Research One, Research Highest institution, which is an analysis they do every 3 years. So this was just released recently. And then there's only 76 institutions in the US, in North America, that are both Carnegie Research Highest and Community Engaged, which are both really important designation for a metropolitan research university. Both of those are core to the values of who we are. So groundbreaking work, but what does this look like? What does it mean to be receiving these research awards and to be a community engaged institution? And it looks like this. So one of the most recent awards we got was called Build Back Better, which maybe you've heard about in the news. This is from the Economic Development Administration. It's a $500,000 effort to launch this new Kentucky Digital Health Tech and Artificial Intelligence Innovation Coalition, which is aimed at one of the major workforce drivers and economic drivers for our region, which is kind of this health tech, digital health, digital analytics, and so forth. So we were one of 60 across the United States that were awarded. There was over 500 applications for this. What it allows us to do is to do the rapid work that we need to compete for up to $100 million in the next round. And just so you know, this is not University of Louisville acting alone. This is us as a community engaged organization. The other partners, the lead institution is Louisville Healthcare CEO Council. It involves AMPT, GLI, KIPTA, Metro Louisville Government, Louisville Urban League, Metro United Way, and of course U of L. So there's a lot of players, and this is how the university in the city, in the region collaborate to improve conditions and for everybody, everything from building a workforce to doing the research that allows better health outcomes and more equitable health outcomes to happen. It looks like this: partnering with the Pentagon to expand defense innovation. So we have a new agreement with the Department of Defense and this National Security Innovation Network. And this gives our students and our faculty opportunities to work on real world problems that Department of Defense gives out to us and other NSIN institutions across the country to help develop technologies rapidly to respond to their needs. And it looks like this. One of our recent grants is a $2 million effort to help minority-owned manufacturers in the region adopt 3D printing technology. This is from the Minority Business Development Association. There were 4 of these awarded nationwide, right? We're one of 4 that got these types of grants in this national competition. And this is, again, it's to help these minority-owned manufacturing businesses adopt the latest 3D printing technology, additive manufacturing technologies. University of Louisville prides itself on not doing research that results in a paper that sits on a shelf. University of Louisville is committed to achieving impact through the discovery of new knowledge and new inventions. Last year, we were awarded 80 new patents. That's a lot of patents. That's double the year before that. And then we also measure other ways of understanding our innovation-related impact. So we had $26 million in innovation-related income. Those are royalty streams and patent reimbursements and things like that. And then a lot of other agreements that basically demonstrate the level of engagement that our university researchers have with other researchers and other companies. What does this look like? Well, University of Louisville has a solar energy startup that just received $2 million in funding, $1 million from Department of Energy and $1 million in angel investment. Again, one of very few across the country in a national competition for new solar technology. And it looks like this. University of Louisville has 2 of the Business First's 22 Kentucky startups to watch. One of them is called Bioproducts LLC, and you may have seen the press around this. The distilling companies, distillation companies, were looking for a solution to their one of their big waste problems, which is stillage, which is a high organic content liquid waste. And we have intellectual property in the form of catalysis and catalysts and so forth that enables energy to be produced by this waste and another product stream as well. So that was one of the startups to watch, and the other one is called Org Vitals, and the founders of Org Vitals are shown here. Brad Shuck is on the left. He's a professor in education and human development, and Charlie Miller is the CEO. Charlie Miller was one of the entrepreneurs in residence, which is a program that we have that brings seasoned, experienced entrepreneurs to the university to work with our technologies and our inventors to successfully get those technologies out to the market, out into the world. And just the last slide here just says that we're really focused on supporting the research and innovation culture at the university, supporting the faculty, the students, the staff that we have. And that's a tremendous part of our work, is making sure that we've got the systems and processes to have a modern research university that competes on the world stage. And that's my update. Happy to take any questions now or later.
We just want you to know it's been a very good year for research. And Kevin, thank you for all your good work. It's great when we can have a presentation that is just full of good news and good accomplishments that are making a difference. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks. And now I'm going to turn it over, if there are no questions, to Dan, and he's going to give you some more good news about our financial picture. Dan?
Thank you. Jake, would you mind doing the honors? First, I'd like to wish all the council a happy new year on behalf of the university. I hope you and your families are safe and well. And I think well is probably a good word to describe the university's financial position at this point. Jake, if you could advance the slide. Okay, I think what you're going to see in the November financial activity, and frankly, this will be shared with our board a little later this week, is what you're seeing is a bit of a rebound back from the suppressed activity that we all experienced with COVID last year. And what you're going to find from the numbers are basically that revenues have increased pretty significantly from last year. Jake, if you could flip the slide, I'll just talk from the numbers. There you go. Whoop, one more back. There you go. So our total revenues are about $105 million greater than the prior year. That's driven by mainly athletics because of, again, the suppressed activity last year compared to this year, and also our research foundation. Some of that is attributed to the research activity that Kevin mentioned, and another piece of that is attributed to clinical activities in the School of Medicine at the Health Sciences Center. The tuition revenues that we've experienced at the university are greater than last year, but in all due candor, a little less than we had budgeted. So that's an area that we're working on. From an expense standpoint, our expenses are up by about $60 million compared to last year, But the key point is our expenses are greater than last year, but our revenues are even greater than last year, and our revenues increased at a greater pace than our expenses. So we attribute a lot of that expense activity to a few things. Number one, just increased activity on campus. Number two is we did implement a 1% base salary increase this fall. We fully restored the retirement contributions to the pre-COVID levels. We had decreased those to get through the kind of the rocky era of COVID. And also, we are investing more in student financial aid. Students need it, and also it's a key investment and a key area for us to invest in. But as we look kind of to the bottom line, we are trending better than last year. Our unrestricted general funds are positive. In other words, if you pull research away and you pull athletics away, our unrestricted operating funds are a little better than last year. We do have some pressure because of tuition that we're working through, but it's still positive. And Jake, if you could turn the slide, if you could advance to one more. One thing that we are very proud of is our liquidity, our cash position. One of the areas that we have been challenged with over the last few years has been our liquidity, and you can see in the 2018 and 2019 years, we were pretty thin, but we have been able to bounce back from that and build a good, solid base to build upon over the next few years. And we continue to manage our budget through these kind of turbulent times and keep things balanced. So all in all, we're stable, and we're basically looking forward to next year to build a good, solid financial platform to build from, not only for next year but also in the future. So again, from a budget standpoint, all is well, and we're in pretty good shape. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions if anyone has them.
Any questions? You all are being a very easy group today. I think you must be giving the rookie interim a little bit of a break, but we'll see. We'll see if you have questions as we go along. Dan, thank you for the good news and for your wonderful stewardship of our dollars. I so appreciate it. Now we're going to hear from my very first appointment as interim president, and I did it 15 minutes after being named, and that is from our interim athletic director, Josh Hurd. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Lori. Thanks so much. And I apologize here for a couple of things. One, it looks like I'm the low achiever. I didn't bring a PowerPoint presentation with me, so I'm just going to chat with you guys for a few minutes. And number two, my call here on Teams has gone out on me a couple of times. So if that happens again, I will dial right back in, and hopefully everybody can hear me okay. But let me just start by saying how excited I am to meet with this group. I know a number of you. I don't know all of you, and I want to emphasize that I do want to hear from this group. This is obviously a very, very talented, highly successful group. I don't have to tell anybody that, but that means that you guys have done some really good things in this community and done a lot of things with this university. And I know how important athletics is to this group. So I do want to hear from you. So please reach out if you feel like we could do things differently or better. And don't hesitate to reach out if we're just doing some things pretty well and say, hey, you're doing okay there. Along those lines, I do want to hit on the academic successes of the fall semester. Really, really impressive numbers to me here. And I'm just going to click off a few facts here. Department-wide GPA, so all of our student athletes, a 3.36 GPA in the fall semester. I mean, these are numbers that they impress me. Field hockey, team GPA of 3.75. So not only is this a team that went undefeated in the ACC conference, they also did pretty well in the classroom. And Dan McDonald's doing what Dan McDonald does with his baseball team. His guys had a 3.4 GPA. And a few other stats here, 96 4.0s amongst our student athletes. And 511 of our student athletes had a 3.0 or above. So just really, really good things happening in the classroom relative to our student athletes. Learfield Cup, and for those of you that don't know, that's really the measuring stick for athletic programs across the country. And essentially they have a formula based on how teams do in the postseason and essentially quantify that through all the sports. And right now we're ranked 25th after the fall semester, which is pretty good, right? It's not great, it's pretty good. And so we definitely have some room to improve there. But if you look at what our field hockey team, I mentioned undefeated in the ACC, unbelievable when you think about that. Volleyball season speaks for itself. And the fact that Danny was able to take that team to the Final Four, really, really, really impressive. Men's soccer making the NCAA tournament again, so congrats to John Michael and his program. Swimming and diving as we get into winter sports here. And once again, I know a lot of you guys know this. I mean, Arthur Albiero and the job that him and his staff are doing, 2 top 15 ranked programs. They actually compete against Kentucky on Saturday. So you can make a day out of UofL athletics. You can watch us beat UK in the pool and then get over and watch us retire Russ's jersey at the basketball game. And then obviously women's basketball. Jeff and the job that he's doing speaks for itself. Getting into football and basketball, I do think we need to talk about those sports because those are the engine that drive this athletic department, and in a lot of instances drive the pride and really the pride in this community, quite frankly. And we've got to be better. There's no other way to put it than that. Football, I actually think they're in really good shape right now. Scott and I've had a lot of conversations. And I would just tell you, he's been very, very intentional about the hires that he's made. These were not, let's go out and find the splashiest names at the splashiest programs, which I think obviously a lot of these guys were connected to big time programs. But he wanted to make sure as we evaluated the program, how do we get guys in here that make this team better? And so if you look at the new staff members, Benjamin Souders, he's now our head strength and conditioning coach, came from the University of Georgia. Dion Branch is going to serve in a director of player development role. And this is another critical piece for me, is just making sure that our former players across every sport are engaged with what we're doing here. So if we get the opportunity to find or create positions for them that can help our athletic department, that's what we're going to do. And you get the chance to get a 2-time Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl MVP back on your staff who cares about this program as much as Dion does, that's a win. Wesley McGriff, and I'll speak to Wesley and Lance a little bit more relative to what Scott and Brian really thought they needed, right? Wesley McGriff's a 30-year veteran of this industry, and he's coached at the highest level at a number of SEC schools. And I think Brian could have shied away from getting a guy like this because he's really talented. And he is going to bring a little bit of a different attitude relative to the defense. But B said, that's exactly what I want. It's what I need. It's what this football team needs. And so for him to realize that, and same thing with Scott, for him to realize, hey, I really need an offensive coordinator, a talented veteran offensive coordinator. That's what we've got in Lance Taylor, who's coming from Notre Dame. On the basketball front, I think the best way I can put this is to talk about the past and what everybody's seen, and a lot of you have seen a lot more success than I have. I got here in 2007, and I was here at the University of Louisville through 2016. So I saw some really, really successful years on the basketball court. I was fortunate enough to go to Villanova during the 2017, 2018, and 2019 seasons. And it's undeniable. I saw the best culture in college basketball. And I say all that because I'm committing to making sure that we have that here. I truly believe I have a very good grasp of what it takes to win at the highest level. And I will have a plan, no matter what it is, to ensure that the University of Louisville basketball will compete at the highest level. I really believe that. And I would also tell you right now, Chris Mack's our head basketball coach, and we're going to do everything we can to support him. And we'll cross bridges if we need to when we get there. But right now, we're focused on making sure that this team can be the best that they can be right now. Getting into near-term priorities, and I'll be pretty quick here. We have to put ourselves in the best position possible to attract the best talent. And how do we do that, right? How do we compete with our peers? How do we compete with the best athletic departments across the country? And for me, it starts on the NIL front. And so I've been working on this, and even before being named interim, but really trying to fast track this a little bit, but making sure we're doing it the right way. And we do. We want to create an entire department around NIL and supporting that. And really, our goal here is finding ways to maximize the earning potential of our student athletes, right, through their name, image, and likeness. And there's not a better place in the country than the University of Louisville and the city of Louisville to maximize on that, right? As I say, I think we have a few more business opportunities than Starkville, Mississippi. And name, image, likeness, NIL, when I say NIL, excuse me, name, image, and likeness. I can get into that a little bit more if you want me to, but how do we create those other opportunities outside of just those deals with companies or community leaders? You know, it's through NFTs, personalized jerseys, camps and clinics. We just have to create those opportunities so that when we're out there, our coaches are out there on the recruiting trail, they can say, hey, this is what happens when you come to the University of Louisville. This is how much, these are how many opportunities you would have if you're here in Louisville. The Alston case, for those of you that don't know, essentially it's a Supreme Court case that allowed universities and institutions to provide some more institutional support centered around academic achievements. And those academic achievements could be anything. Each university gets to set that standard. So it could be maintaining your eligibility. It could be a 3.0. It could be any number of things. And so we put a group together of Marvin Mitchell, John Carnes, Jeff Spelker, Matt Banker, and Amy Calabrese, and they're really digging into how we award those dollars with the intention of, we don't have an exact number, but we're allocating between $2 and $2.5 million during FY23 from an Alston case academic achievement bonus standpoint. Capital project priorities, fan engagement, really, really important. And this, I think, carries on what Vince was really trying to achieve. He knew how important it was to get fans out to games, and obviously I feel the same way. So here by the end of the week, we should have full approval from the Board of Trustees and the UofL board to start the Wi-Fi project at the football stadium, and then continue moving on the Angels Envy Club, which will replace the Brown and Williamson Club. It'll be a complete renovation, a $6 million project. So it'll be a brand new club there on the west side of the stadium. Women's Capital Campaign, the new standard. I really believe, once again, during my 13 or 14 years that I've been here, we've always been industry leaders in women's athletics, and we're going to continue to maintain that stature. And so we put a campaign together to raise $10 million around women's athletics, and we've raised about $2 million of that already, and already started on a number of projects: new video board at field hockey, new video board at the lacrosse field, and there's a number of other priorities there. New field hockey turf. I can get into those if you'd like for me to. Other top priorities for us on the capital side are baseball and softball indoor facilities. And I've talked to a few of you about it, but not very many. And I know Vince mentioned the baseball indoor facility a few years ago at the leadoff dinner, and COVID hit, and we kind of hit the pause button. But we did have some momentum around that project, and we're going to really try to pick that up and really create a lot of momentum around that project, because I truly believe we have the best baseball coach in the country. And really the only thing he's asked for from me since I've been here is an indoor facility. And this is, as programs like LSU and others are knocking on his door to see if he's interested in coaching their programs. And every time that they have, he's just said, no, I'm happy here. So that's a priority, because he thinks that's what he needs to win a national championship. And that's what we're focused on. We're focused on Dan and his program winning a national championship, not just going to the College World Series. And then swimming's another really important one for us. We've started to put plans together around, it's about a $5 million renovation of the natatorium. And once again, I think it's just something that program deserves. If you look at the success that Arthur's had, he's competing with the Stanfords, the Michigans, the Texases of the world. And we just have to provide them with better locker rooms, better office space, better meeting space. And so looking to try to get that project done. I've got a few other topics on here and happy to get into them, but they're more external: college football playoff expansion, That was in the news recently. So happy to touch on that. The NCAA convention is this week, and they're obviously going down the road of trying to change some things to try to streamline the various divisions. So happy to get into that conversation a little bit if questions are asked. But I think I would just end it with this. As long as I'm in this position, we're going to do things the right way. As I've said to our senior staff, our leadership team, our head coaches, we are unequivocally going to do the right thing. And if we don't do that, then you're not going to work in this athletic department. It's that simple. We're not going to excuse away behaviors. We're going to be very transparent, and I think that follows in the footsteps of what Vince created. So if anybody has questions, concerns, call me, and I will give you as much information as I possibly can. And I would just end it with, I want suggestions. I want to know how we can do things as good as great as we can possibly do them. And that comes through different ideas and different suggestions. And so I welcome feedback from this group. So with that, I'll open it up to questions if anybody has any.
Josh, do you mind to give just a thumbnail summary of what NIL is for those people who don't even know what name, image, likeness means?
Yeah.
They're up to speed.
Yeah, happy to. So essentially, our current student athletes, now not prospective student athletes, so not recruits, but our current student athletes have been given the ability to make money off of their name, image, and likeness, and that's exactly what it says it is, right? So if I'll use Haley Van Lith, she's a really good example. She can start to monetize her Instagram account. She could start to sell spots in camps or clinics that she's creating. We have the ability, like I said, to put names on the back of jerseys, and they could create royalties off of that. And I think where it gets a little tricky is we have to navigate who has the right to use our marks, right? We've worked very hard to protect our marks, the bird head, things like that. And so that's where I think NIL gets a little bit tricky, but we are working with our student athletes hand in hand to make sure that they are given some of those opportunities if they want to go down that road. Names are not popping up as I'm seeing.
So Bob Kahn, you have a question?
Yeah, two questions, Josh. Pardon me. One is, do you have the authority, and does Lori have the authority to make personnel changes, even though each of you have interim titles? And secondly, can you update us on the NCAA basketball situation, the appeal that's going on, and when there can possibly be a resolution?
So Josh, I'll answer that first one, and then I'll turn the harder one over to you. So when the board appointed me as interim, they said you have an interim title, but we expect you to act with the full authority of the president. And so when I appointed Josh as the interim AD, I said the same thing. We have to move the operations along. We can't hold until there's a permanent. And there are many decisions that'll be made, some in athletics and some on the campus proper. So yes, we both have full authority to act as needed in personnel decisions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Then can Josh answer the second part?
Unfortunately, I can't give a much of an update on the NCAA case, just relative to the rules and the laws that govern the NCAA. I wish I could, but obviously we're continuing to be updated there. And this goes without saying, the sooner the better. And I can promise you it's a priority for us to put that behind us and put it in the rearview mirror and look straight ahead and make sure that nothing like that ever happens again. Like I said, I wish I could provide more update than that, but I can promise you that we're focused on putting that behind us as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for anyone from the President's Office and leadership team before we conclude? All right, this is your last call. So thank you very much, and thanks to the team for showing all the good things that are happening at our university. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who gave reports, really, really great reports. I mean, a lot of really good news. And part of our responsibility as members of this council is when we're out there in the community, you're not going to get the good news out of the courier. It's our job to communicate the good news. And if you're hearing something out there that doesn't sound right, set it straight. Make sure that Lori and her team know about some, if there's some rumor that's out there, so that we can set this straight. We're in a transition period, and there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of potentially bad information out there. So let's make sure that's part of our job. Let's make sure that we're getting the right message out there to everyone. Secondly, I need to backtrack just a little bit. David and William, Jennifer's not here. We're going to have an onboarding for you two. Just want to let you know that it's too long of a day to do it on a day when we're having a meeting. So Jake's going to get with you all, and we'll get together and we'll do an onboarding and kind of get you all up to speed on what the council's all about. So I just want to let you guys know that as well. The last item of business for this is for me is the report of the chair, and I wanted to talk to you all a little bit about the presidential search and the process for finding the next permanent president of the University of Louisville. The Board of Trustees, Mary Nixon, and her colleagues of the board are reviewing previous presidential searches, and they're looking at best practices across benchmarks in the country as well as within the ACC. When this research phase is complete, the trustees will work with the General Counsel to propose and craft an RFP for a search consultant. Once that's finalized, it'll move through the university and state procurement processes. As proposals are received by the university, the Board of Trustees will solicit input from UofL faculty, staff, students, alumni, and Louisville community members about the following: what we want to see in the next president, what skills and competencies and attributes the next president should have, what type of leader we want the next president to be, what we think opportunities and what challenges we think the next president will face, what makes the University of Louisville an exciting place, and help craft a narrative and rationale of why Louisville and why now. So this is where we come in, because we're going to put a survey out online. You're going to be sent a link, and we're looking for honest, candid feedback to the questions that we're going to pose. Your responses, along with the constituencies across the that I just mentioned a moment ago, are going to be compiled into a report and submitted to the board that'll be used to draft a final advertisement for the position. From there, the search firm will publish the job posting to numerous national outlets, resulting in a pool of candidates the trustees will review. Well, there'll be several rounds. We've been through this before recently, as you know. There'll be several rounds of interviews with candidates. Finalists will be chosen. I anticipate that they will be come to campus for vetting, and after that, we will announce the 19th president of the University of Louisville. So this is a big, broad brush on what's going to happen. The details beyond this general scope haven't been finalized, and they're going to be shared by the trustees once we've selected a search firm to help us with the search for the president. At this time, if you've got any questions or any suggestions around this, please send these to Jake. What I'll do now is, right now, if anybody has any comments, questions about this, I open it up for any questions. All right. Good. Thanks for letting me off the hook. All right. All right. Lastly, I just want to remind everybody, our next meeting is April 5th from 4 to 6 p.m. I anticipate that we'll be back in our hybrid model. Sorry about the virtual model this time, but I think everybody knows why we felt it best to do it this way. We're going to resume with our normal committee reports. At that meeting, Jake and I are going to be getting with the chairs of each of those committees. They're going to report out. We'll be getting with you all very soon and starting to lay out how we're going to proceed for those reports. That concludes my report. Having no other business, or if anybody else has any questions, comments, I would propose that we adjourn. And please note, we're adjourning an hour early. So, gave you that back. All right. All right, everybody. Anything from anybody else? Jake, thanks for all your hard work behind the curtain, making this thing work.
No problem.
All right, everybody. See you
Bye-bye.
soon. Bye, everybody.